All right, a 31-10 win for the Titans over the Jaguars. I thought the game was going to be closer. My score prediction, I had it at 31-30. Had the Titans score right, but the Jags didn't really live up to par. I thought it was going to be closer. They've kept some of their games close.
I mean, I can't say that I disagree with you because I had my score as 35-28.
Yeah.
I mean, especially after you look at how these teams played each other the first time they played, and like you said, the Jaguars have been in a lot of games that they played in. But
they also have those games where they just can't get things going offensively.
That's true. But I did also tell you that the Jags were fixing to be going up against a pissed-off Titans team.
Hey, that's right.
And even after his performance today in Derrick Henry's post-game interview, he said he's still pissed off about the Browns game and how he played in that game. So, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for the teams we have on the rest of the schedule, the Lions, Packers, and Texans.
So let's talk about Derrick Henry, first and foremost. 26 carries, 215 yards, 8.3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns.
I mean, what can you say except he's the king. He's showing why he is the best running back in the league. Probably not going to be watching this, but any Browns fans that are watching this, Chubb he's not there. Henry is the best running back in the league. And if you're fine with it, I want to dive just a little bit deeper on Derrick Henry and just prove that. I mean, you went over his stats today, and are you willing to say that Derrick Henry for 2,000 yards is back on the table right now?
I think it's on the table. I don't know that I would say there's a good chance of it, but it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Has to average 158 yards over the next 3 games. And
well, he's playing 2 more defenses that are not great
in the
against
bottom
the run.
5 of the league.
That's right, and that's the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans.
I don't know where the Texans rank, but I know the Lions are like 28th in the league in rushing yards allowed.
The Texans are not great against the run. I mean, I know.
I mean, and even, Henry could have had a lot more yards today.
Yeah, I mean he did this in like 3 quarters. I mean,
he wasn't even in on
by the 4th quarter.
2 or 3 drives.
I mean, Arthur Smith was packing things up. He was just like, okay, we've done what we needed to do. These guys are not going to come out and make a comeback. They're not going to score on us. So
now, it was funny. Apparently, someone on the sidelines told Vrabel that Henry was close to 200 yards. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, and he said, we'll give him one opportunity, and he made the most of it. So, that's pretty awesome there. I mean, his last run was a 20-yard run to put him up to 215.
Yeah, I mean,
and
he got one opportunity and just
said, okay,
I'm gonna go for a little bit more.
I think he could have got even more yards on that one, but after he kind of broke free, he turned and looked behind him and seen the guy coming up behind him, and that slowed him down a little bit. Honestly, he probably could have gained maybe 30 to 40 yards on that run before having anyone touch him. And I actually tweeted out during the game, I was like, we're going to see Henry go for a new personal best. And, his best game has been like 238 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that happened against the Jaguars back in 2018. So the way things were shaping up, I was like, hey, he's going to go for the record for rush yards in the game.
Well, one thing that he definitely did is he broke his kind of streak where when he goes to Jacksonville, he doesn't always play the best of games. He has dominated Jacksonville in the past, but not
Nashville.
In Jacksonville.
Right.
Well, now he's got one of those under his belt in Jacksonville. Absolute domination, 26 for 215, like I said earlier.
And really on a field that, man,
guys were slipping left and right.
Turf
it was bad.
Horrible.
Derrick Henry is going to do Derrick Henry things, and he can do things that other running backs cannot do. But the unit that needs some recognition is the offensive line.
Yes.
I mean, they were just opening up holes for Derrick Henry. I mean, I heard the announcer say at one point during the game you could drive a Mack truck through that hole.
Which is basically what Derrick Henry is.
Yeah, I mean, they came back and said you could drive a Derrick Henry through that hole.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like you said, they were
making holes.
They were opening things up for him. He would make some guys miss. Seen a couple of stiff arms, not the big Derrick Henry stiff arms that we've seen before, but there was one run he busted to the outside, and the corner was coming up on him, and you could set every time he'd load up that arm, and that corner would kind of stay back just a little bit. But I said I wanted to dive into Derrick Henry's stats a little bit more.
Well, dive into it.
This is the 13th time that Derrick Henry had 100 rushing yards in one half since entering the NFL in 2016. And that's including the playoffs. The next closest players only have 4 halves where they've done that. And that includes Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, and Aaron Jones. So, I mean, just crazy how big of a gap there is there.
Well, there was a point in the game that Derrick Henry had more yards than the Jaguars' entire offense.
Yeah, he actually finished the game with more rushing yards than Tannehill had passing yards. And
yeah, 212.
He has the most career games with 200-plus yards rushing and 2+ rushing touchdowns in NFL history. He has 4 now. He passed Jim Brown, who has 3, Barry Sanders, who has 3, and LaDainian Tomlinson, who has 3.
Well, the thing is, Derrick Henry is doing such great things right now, and it's like people... He doesn't always have great games like this. It's not every time that he comes out on Sunday that, he's going to do that. But when it does happen, he's doing it so often that it's like people are numb to the greatness.
Right.
I mean...
Well, it feels like...
And it's like people aren't recognizing... Now, Titans fans do, but it's like people outside of the Titans fan base don't recognize what he's actually doing. I mean, he is making a Hall of Fame career right now.
4 games with 200-plus yards rushing and 2+ touchdowns. For us, it feels like he's had more than that.
Yeah.
Because that anytime he touches the ball, if he can get just a little room, he can do that. And he is the first player with back-to-back 1,500 rushing yard seasons since Tiki Barber and Larry Johnson in the 2005 and 2006 season.
Well, he's going to join LaDainian Tomlinson, Emmitt Smith. I can't even remember the other names that were in that group, but he's going to join that group of guys that have won rushing titles in back-to-back years. Because I'm just going to say it, he's going to win it. I don't have a doubt in my mind.
He's got a 180-yard cushion right now. And just to put into perspective how this season has been going for him, last year he finished the year with 1,540 yards rushing. He already has 1,532 yards rushing this season. He's 8 yards away from tying how many yards he had last season. So, he's just going to keep piling that on. And I think that there could be a good chance, and this may just be me being biased, but with him going against 2 more defenses that rank in the bottom 5 of the league for their rush defense, I think he's going to flirt with that 2,000 mark.
The only thing I feel like that could really hurt him and keep him from that is, say, against like the Detroit Lions. Say next week they get out early, get a cushion, and just start to pack things up. They were outplaying the Jaguars big time in this game early, and it's still, throughout a lot of the first half, and I can't remember exactly when they finally did go up by 2 touchdowns, but throughout the first half, they were still only up 7-0. And it's like, well, they're outplaying them like crazy, but they just haven't put the points on the board.
Right.
And, I'm afraid if they get up like that, if they're outplaying Detroit like that, they're going to actually put up the points and they might start to pack things up early.
They could. And
that could hurt him as far as getting towards 2,000 yards.
It could, but I would be fine with them doing that because we had our bye week early.
Yeah,
this year.
he could use the rest going into the playoffs.
If you get up by a lot and give these guys a chance to rest for these next coming games and even the playoffs, I would rather have that deep playoff run and even possibly making a run to the Super Bowl and Derrick Henry putting this team on his shoulders and winning the Super Bowl for us. I mean, I would take that. But we've hit on Derrick Henry a lot already. A.J. Brown.
I was just about to try to move the conversation to A.J. Brown because he had a hell of a game. And the flea flicker, let me just say this before we get into A.J. Brown. There were two plays that really helped the Titans to just really write the script for this game. The flea flicker and the fake punt. Yep. And those are two plays that worked out beautifully and makes the coaching staff look absolutely genius. But also two plays that, had they went the other way, people might be talking completely different about the coaching staff right now. Luckily, they worked out, and that just, like I said, it makes your coaching staff look like geniuses.
Well, I'm going to say the flea flicker, Tannehill put that ball where only A.J. Brown will be able to get it. No one else was going to get that ball besides A.J. Brown. The defender was not going to be in position to get it. I mean, where he put that ball.
And there are select few wide receivers in the NFL that can make that catch.
That was, I mean, I was jumping up and down when he made that catch.
If he had just reached out and grabbed it, that would have been one thing. But he kind of tipped it and then caught it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of bounced off his hand, like you said. It bobbled it a little bit, and then he grabbed it and was like, still got
That's hard to
feet
do
down.
one-handed.
Yes.
And concentrate on getting your feet in.
Exactly.
Just a hell of a play.
I mean, he had a really good game today. Everyone's been on him about the drops.
He had some drops today.
He did. But he's also said that he stopped listening to everyone else about the drops. You know, he's been in his own head enough about them. And, you know, he's trying to work through that, get better. You know, he knows that he needs to fix that. And, I mean, he caught 7 of his 9 targets, had 112 yards, and that touchdown.
Had a great game.
He did. And, I mean, he was everywhere. And like we've talked about before, it seems like it's every other week him and Corey Davis are swapping out who's going to be the main guy getting it going for the Titans receivers.
And before the game, I made a bold prediction that I thought was a lock. And that bold prediction was that none of the Titans' 3 leading touchdown scorers, Henry, Jonnu, and A.J. Brown, none of those would score a touchdown in this game. Well, 2 of the 3 decided that they wanted to have an absolute game and absolutely killed my hopes for a bold prediction. Just wanted to put that out there. I still have a lead on you.
You do.
So,
because I thought that Corey Davis was going to be in line for another big game. And I'm going to be honest with you, I may have to retire from the bold predictions as far as
because anytime you predict for a player,
games,
anytime you predict for a player, you curse them.
Yeah, I may have to retire from doing
You may have to start doing bold predictions for the other team's players. Next week, Matthew Stafford is going to go for 506 touchdowns. Let's agree on that.
I'm not even putting that out there because it'll be my luck that I will say that and then he'll do it.
Well, that would be bad.
That would be very bad. So I'm not going to do that.
Let's talk about Jeff Swain.
Let's
talk about Jeff Swain because this is a guy that,
you think of more for his blocking,
right?
And he's coming out and caught all 3 targets. Caught a touchdown.
A beautiful touchdown.
I mean, Tannehill friggin' threw that ball in there hard. Yeah. I mean, he zipped it in there.
And, I mean, he really made up for some of the other Titans pass catchers not really having that great of games. I mean, I know Corey Davis was only targeted 3 times. He caught all 3 of them. But, I mean, if you look at it, A.J. Brown had 7, and Jeff Swain had 3. And, you know, that's him outperforming what he normally does. I mean, Swain is maybe good for a catch a game.
You might expect more of that from Ferkser.
Or Jonnu. And, you know, as you go down, it's like, well, A.J. Brown and Swain really are the only ones that performed at, you know, the level that they usually do or higher. And I mean, Corey Davis had 3, Jonnu Smith had 2 for 20, and then it's like nobody. I mean, you had Henry with 2 catches and Fertzer with 1.
But again, with the way things were going for Henry and how this team,
they didn't have to
and how
throw
they
it
were
that
running
much.
the
I
ball.
mean,
Yeah,
Tannehill
exactly.
was 19 for 24. He only threw the ball 24 times, and he didn't have to throw it any more than that.
Exactly, because they knew that they could dominate this game with the run. And I know we've been talking about the offense quite a bit, but I have to flip it over. Man, our defense came to play this week. I mean, were there still some mistakes made and some coverages kind of blown? Yes. But compared to how they played last week in the first half,
Now, let's not. They played a great game, but let's not get too excited.
and,
It is against the 1-12 Jaguars,
but the team that has been putting up points.
right? But it is a good sign, nonetheless. And a guy defensively that absolutely played a hell of a game is Malcolm Butler.
Man, we actually didn't get to watch this game together today, but like we've talked about so many times, we pretty much know what the other one's thinking, and I was thinking the same thing.
But it's
Butler,
just he stood out so much.
he was following chart around the field.
Yeah.
I mean, he was making sure that he was not going to beat us today. And he was getting in position, had an interception,
He was a lockdown corner today.
and he was not the cornerback that I was expecting the Jaguars to try and target. But they went after him several times, and time after time, he was making plays. I really figured that they were going to be going at Ty Smith. But even when
Keelan Cole, I mean, he did have some good catches and plays. But King was on him when he scored the touchdown.
And what I was about to say is, like, when they actually match up, like in man coverage, Ty Smith done really good. I mean, the only time that Cole was doing more was when the Titans were in a zone, it looked like. And that's when he was able to get more of his catches and do more of his damage. But, I mean, Ty Smith made some really good plays, had a couple of passes that he knocked down. Our pass rush still
Weren't able to get any sacks.
but we were getting back there. And we were making, looked like we blitzed a little bit more, and we were making whichever Jaguars quarterback it was back there move around.
I will say.
Did you get worried
About what?
when Minshew come in?
Well, I was about to talk about Minshew for just a little bit. I said, before in our preview that I liked Minshew, and Glennon just looked. He's a safe quarterback. Partly, he's a guy that you just put in there and you're gonna throw check downs.
He looked a little surprised when the Titans were actually getting pressure on him, though.
Right? Yeah. And he just wasn't getting anything done. And it's like you got to bring in Minshew, and he trots out there with the mustache and the beautiful hair.
And I don't know if you heard it or not, but Jaguars fans were very upset with Glennon. And at one point, you could hear over the TV them shout, "Put the mustache in."
Well, if they would have put him in earlier, there's a chance that it would have been a closer game because he was actually able to get things going.
I actually do not agree with that because while he was able to drive them down the field a little bit more, I believe by the time he come in, the Titans defense had relaxed a little bit more.
I think you might be forgetting what he was able to do against this Titans defense on Thursday Night Football last year.
Look, that's last year. I'm talking
Well,
about
I'm just saying, same quarterback.
I'm talking about this game right here with the lead the Titans had and where the time was getting at in the game, like how much time was left. I feel like they were playing off a little bit more. It was like they were doing the bend, don't break defense again. They were giving up little things, but when the Jaguars got down to the red zone and were trying to score, I know at least twice they went for it on fourth down.
And they didn't get it.
Well,
what I will say
the
is
Titans defense tightened up when they got down in the red zone and didn't let things happen.
I see you with the pun there, but I am going to have to say that I don't agree with you. I think that a lot of the Titans' defensive success early on can be partly, now I'm not going to say completely, they played a good game defensively, but I think it can partly be chalked up to Glennon being in at quarterback. I feel like things were running a lot more smoothly with Minshew, and he's not afraid to take some chances. I think he's more talented than the guy's name left my Glennon. I think he's more talented than Glennon. I think that he fits that offense better than Glennon. I don't know why he didn't start this game, but I think that he should have from a Jaguars perspective, just because I think it would have given them a much better chance. Now, I think maybe had he started this game, you're looking at 30, well, maybe not even 31, because the Titans might have never took their foot off the gas. You might be looking at like 38-17 or 38-20. I don't think it would have made a big enough difference to put the Jaguars in the game, but I think they would have had some more points on the board.
All right. I mean, I can respect what you're saying there. I mean, personally, I don't think it would have made a difference just because of how this Titans team come out ready to play today on both sides of the ball. I just don't see it being that much of a difference. And, I mean, like you said, he was able to make some things happen, and he was able to get out of the pocket, and instead of just looking to throw it down the field, he did run it a couple times.
Now, and speaking of quarterbacks running, what about Logan Woodside taking one a little bit?
Even had the little stop and go where
he didn't want to slide.
No, he was trying to pull that stop and go, and maybe he was thinking, oh, well, hey, Derrick Henry can have these long runs down here. I want to get one too.
I mean, a stat that we're not talking about is Logan Woodside had 18 yards per carry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you really caught me off guard there with just getting on the Woodside train and being all about. I want to jump back to the defense.
He didn't throw a pass, but he looked great.
He didn't look bad, but when you're playing with a 3 touchdown lead, I mean,
it's easy to look good. Yeah.
The defense, jumping back to it, like we've seen a lot of good things. Still wish our pass rush could have got some sacks on the board. I don't like that. I mean, yes, we're getting back there, hurrying quarterbacks up, making them make bad decisions, but we have to start getting some sacks. Rashaan Evans played a lot better today.
He played
I thought he was going to have one interception, deep in the Jaguars' territory, and he acted like he was going to rush, backed up, and
wasn't able to get his hands on it. He got his hands on it. He just wasn't able to secure it.
Broke a pass up down the field, but then jump into Kevin Byard, who you didn't hear his name called much, and just watching the game, one play that sticks out to me, the Jaguars, they have been setting this play up all game long. You know that they have. They would put 2 receivers out wide and stack them, like one in front of the other. And they kept throwing that screen pass to the receiver in the back. This time they put their tight end and a receiver out behind him. And it would have been to their right side. And they take the snap, fake the screen. Tight end acts like he's going to block. Byard's up pressing him. The tight end blows right by him. And is a perfectly thrown ball by Minshew. I mean, right where it needed to be. And had Hooker not come over and laid a big hit.
Absolutely lit.
Oh, my God.
Lit him up.
I mean, at first when I was watching it, because I couldn't see the second number, all I could see was a 3 on both of our guys. I thought that Hooker was the one that got beat, and Byard come over and delivered the hit. Right. And then after seeing the replay, I was like, Byard, dude.
Byard has not hit like that this year, so you should have known right off the bat that was Byard.
That's why I was so surprised at first when I thought it was Byard. I was like, dude, where is this guy? Like, normally you would be wrapping him up and
come on, let's get in the end zone.
But that's really my only knock on him this game. He had a chance for maybe an interception.
Yeah, really poorly thrown ball.
Yeah, it would have been.
Honestly, if it was a good throw, it might have been a touchdown.
So I was kind of on him at first when they said that Byard had a chance at it and missed. But after seeing the replay, I was like, okay, if he would have somehow caught that
for
an interception,
great play.
That's a hell of an interception.
Right.
But it is what it is. We held the Jaguars 10 points. Yes, I know it's the Jaguars. Don't celebrate it too much. But
just be glad they got a win.
Yeah, I mean, we got the win. We're still in control of the AFC South. So, that's
even with
that's
the
really
Colts
good.
win, we saw, the Colts ended up absolutely blowing out pretty much the Raiders.
But the Titans were able to do something that we thought would be really big, and that is contain Robinson.
Which, honestly, kind of sucks because I was hoping for my fantasy team that he would get some garbage time points. Maybe like a garbage screen pass for a touchdown.
His offensive line wouldn't let him.
They
Every time he would start making some big plays.
The Jaguars' offensive line was very anti-James Robinson.
They were, because he would get a big run or he would catch a pass and carry it for, I forget, several yards. I mean, he'd be picking up first downs.
And the right tackle's like, is that James?
And all of a sudden, you could tell he was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Because he had one run or catch where he got on down the field. I think it was a long run. He had finally broke one. He seen the flag, threw the ball to the ref, grabbed his guy, and just started walking back with him. And, you obviously as a Titans fan, I'm like, all right, yeah, just, get your ass back. You ain't doing nothing. But just from looking at a player standpoint, and knowing he's working his ass off to do this, and it's like, dude, why are you screwing your guy over here? But it is what it is. Like when it really matters.
If that was happening to Henry and he was breaking runs like that, Robinson even had a touchdown,
right?
And it got brought back. We would be livid.
Exactly.
We would be calling for someone on the offensive line. We would be calling for their head.
We would, and you know what? I was. Just right quick, I'm really disappointed. We put a little bit of our preview out, and we were wanting Jaguars fans to, come talk shit to us. Talk good about your team. Tell us why you think you can beat the Titans. And I don't think we had a single Jaguars fan show up. And seeing some videos.
Well, I for one can live without the shit talking. I'm either way on it. If you come and you're talking it, I'll have a conversation with you.
Look, here's the reason I brought that up. Because we wanted the Jaguars fans to do that, but then I seen several clips on Twitter from Titans fans at the Jaguars stadium watching the game, and I don't recall seeing that many Jaguars fans to begin with, so that could be why. That's the point I was wanting to get to there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Now, I will say, the game that I went to last year, it was in Nashville. I guess they thought, since they had the win on Thursday Night Football earlier in the year, that maybe they had a chance. They're actually a lot, and the stadium was at full capacity. A lot of Jaguars fans showed up then. Maybe it's because the team was doing a little bit better, whatever. They showed up then, and I will say, from what I saw in my section, very annoying. Couldn't stand them, but maybe it was just because they were going for the Jaguars, whatever. But obviously, by maybe halftime of that game, Derrick Henry had, told them to sit.
Right. There's no doubt now that Derrick Henry is the official owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I think if we looked it up on Wikipedia right now, somebody would have already fixed that on there.
Right. His runs today, every time, I think he had
on the big touchdown, the first big touchdown run, he didn't get touched, I don't think. Maybe the guy that dove at him, when he was 5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
but other than that,
I think maybe one time. But, that he just broke free. I was in the living room jumping up and down like crazy. Yes, yeah, he's in. And, it just, at halftime, you knew that things were only going to get worse for the Jaguars because that defense had already started wearing down. And honestly, Henry, I can't remember if this was before one of his other long runs or not, but we talked about players slipping. He had one where it looked like he had a lot of room, and he was trying to turn it upfield, and he slipped and, fell down. Right. And, the Jaguars players were up flexing like, yeah, like they done something when it was just their field.
The Jaguars were still technically still in the game at halftime, 17-3. But like you said, you just knew there's no way. This game, it's over.
The Titans were getting the ball coming out of half, and you knew that the Jaguars were going to get another big dose of Derrick Henry.
And that's when, right after halftime, that's when Swain made his great play. So, that when Swain scores, it's over. It's over. But Stephen Gostkowski, okay, hits all of his extra points, all 4 of his extra points, and hits one from 53 yards. Now, obviously, that's, in his sweet zone, 53 yards. But
I thought it was a 50-yarder.
It's telling me here 53.
All right, maybe.
But we really haven't seen. Maybe it's because there's been other problems with the team during the Browns game, but he's been putting them through the uprights lately. So
just keep it up.
It hasn't been an issue.
And we didn't even talk about. The Titans had a blocked field goal.
Yeah, huge play.
Play. Granted.
Now, he did slip.
That's what I was going to say. He did slip. He went to plant. As soon as he went to plant, he slipped. So that probably helped the Titans out a little bit with blocking that. But, it was huge for the momentum, to have that.
Absolutely. Now, I will say, Aldrick Rosas, however you say his name, that guy's jacked. That is one jacked kicker. I don't know. I'm assuming that his legs are probably in pretty good shape. He's an NFL kicker. But the guy's arms, it looks like he can curl 225. He's a beast. One of the bigger kickers I've seen in the NFL.
Are you just looking for some of the positives for the Jaguars fans?
I'm trying to give them something. Something.
Yeah, I can tell you are a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I think we've pretty much hit on everything in this game.
There's not a whole lot in these blowouts. Obviously, you talk about the players that had standout games. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill. His stats aren't going to jump out at you, but he played a great game. He was putting the ball where it needed to be.
And, I'm really glad that the Titans were able to get up like they did and, win by 21. Because later in the game, like we talked about with, resting Henry, they even brought Ben Jones out, Saffold out, and Dennis Kelly out. And I was glad to see that after earlier in the game, granted, I wanted to see Derrick Henry get a new personal best, maybe even pursue getting the single game rushing record. But with the way that field was for the Jaguars.
Yeah, you definitely don't want anybody getting hurt in a game that you feel like you're going to win regardless.
Right, and we had seen Ben Jones go down earlier in the game with an injury. Saffold went down. A.J. Brown went down for a little bit. All of them ended up coming back in the game after they got hurt. But still, this late in the season, you're like, no, we don't need that. So it's good to see them get this rest because I don't know what was going on with the Jaguars field. But, you look at...
It performed about as well as the Jaguars football team.
And it was mainly just the middle section of the field in between the hashes. And, it's one of those things where you're like, let's get our guys off this field so that, nothing bad really happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we've covered everything. You agree?
I agree.
Good win for the Titans. Keeps them, ahead in control of the AFC South.
Just got to keep winning.
Honestly, I feel like they can drop one of the next two. As long as they beat the Texans, they can drop one of the next two and be in a pretty good spot. Now,
I think we agree that the toughest game is definitely going to be, and we've probably said it before, facing Green Bay up at Lambeau Field.
Agreed.
That's going to be the toughest game on their schedule. I don't know for sure what the injury was, but I believe Deshaun Watson went down earlier today with an injury.
Well, even though, the Titans do play them in 3 weeks, whatever, I hope it's not too bad. Maybe it's just long enough to keep him out for that game. In case they need to win there.
Either way, I want the Titans to beat the Texans. That way, we only have one loss in the division.
What we predicted before the season is that they would split with the Colts and sweep everybody else.
So, I would like for that prediction to come true for us.
Yeah. Because nothing else seems to.
But like I was saying, we think that out of the next 3 weeks, they'll probably be 2-1. We would like to see them get that win in Green Bay, but that's going to be...
With the way Green Bay's playing right now, it would be tough.
That's going to be tough. because with the way our defense has been playing,
it's going to have to be a shootout.
Yeah, depending on which defense shows up for us, Aaron Rodgers could have a field day with
Even with the Titans defense that showed up today, Rodgers is putting up 28 points.
So, like you said, it would be a shootout.
Well, that's all we got for this video. Make sure that you're following us on social media and, checking out all of our other things where we're putting out content. On Twitter, it's Titans_time. On Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. Make sure that you go check out our podcast. Those episodes have different content than the YouTube channel does. That's Titans Time. You can find it in the podcast apps that are showing up on the screen right now. Any of those, any podcast app that you prefer to use. We're also on Facebook, that's Titans Time, and also check out our website, titanstimepodcast.com.
Guys, make sure you go down, if you haven't already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the post notifications, like the videos, share the videos, leave us some comments. We honestly love the interaction and going back and forth and just talking with everybody. And even our social media apps that he mentioned, talk to us there, interact with us there. We're all for it. And, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
right?
and though, if you enjoy watching our videos and, you want to help us grow a little bit, those likes and comments, all those interactions and things help boost our video up. So
it does. And, guys, we're trying to hit a goal before the end of December. I believe right now we're at 152 subscribers. We're trying to get to 200 before the end of December. So, we really appreciate everyone that subscribes to us, likes our videos. You're helping our channel out, and, we just, like I said, we love the interaction of talking with everyone, just talking football, especially Titans football.
The more people, the more we can talk about the Tennessee Titans. This has been Titans Time, and as always, Titan up.